Welcome to another video. Sorry for the long release schedule. And unfortunately this video that I have for you guys today, my mic actually wasn't recording while I was playing. So I'm going to do a voiceover of the game. Mainly the placements, the early game, and then we'll phase to the mid game and late game and go over anything important and summarize what happened. The reason why I'm going through such effort to get this video out is that there's two really important things that happened in the early placements that panned out for the rest of the game. So let's just get right into this game and get on with. So we can see right off the bat, I'm already looking at the board, seeing what's good. I'm spotting these are good up here, but then very quickly I spot the 9-6 for the ore. But then I'm like, wait a minute, that 6 clay, it's 12 and 2. So that 6 clay is actually if I get that 6 clay, I monopolize clay against everyone else. So even though this 9-6-3, 9-6-2, like, it wouldn't be the greatest thing, in this current situation, it does look to be like the best decision to make. So I do end up taking this 9-3-6. I do consider taking stuff down here or anything over here, but it's really not worth it. Especially, you get that clay, everyone's going to be trading off of you for it. 12 and 2, maybe we'll get rolled 4 or 5 times in a game. So this 9-3-6 is what I chose to go with. The other thing as well is, like, I can get to the log port and I can get to the 3-4-1 port. So, if I have to, somehow build over here with all these logs, I have a way to do that to win the game. And that's why I build the road outwards as well, as you should normally do. So now here I'm just considering like my options of, do I expand upwards or downwards on this 3 or down to the log port. But then I quickly look over to where other people are going to go. So other places are strong on this board. This 9-5-10 looks strong. The 10-4-8 looks pretty strong. The 5-6-11 looks pretty good. Then down here for the ore, I mean, I've got one of the best ores, and then I've got the clay, but then I haven't really pushed anyone off of this yet. So someone can go down here, then someone can go up on this 9-4-11, as I'm probably going over right now. And then the 10-5-2 is kind of like a iffy pick, but it could work out depending on where your other settlements have gone. So red decides to go for the 9-5-10, which I think is a pretty strong place. The only question I have for these two spots up here is, where do you synergize them? Because this 5, I mean, like, you need clay to make use of logs, or if you don't have clay, you need a log port. And if you don't have a log port, you're going to be doing the less efficient 3-4-1 port. So where do you synergize this log? This 9-10 wheat and sheep, I mean, that's all of the board. You have it here, you have wheat and sheep here, you have wheat and sheep here, and wheat and sheep here as well, right? So you're not locked into going to the spot. So, there's some debate, like, should you go down here or should you go over here for, getting those resources, then being able to expand later. And this is where I began to think of an idea as, like, if I just go down here, I get everything that I need. Or if I go up here, I get everything I need. So I have a lot of options on the board, and I realized that actually taking this 6 was a lot bigger, was a more demanding thing I should have done quicker. And should have realized that sooner, how strong taking the 6 is from everyone else, because all of these logs are paired up with a lot of these wheat. So it will hamper people down if they actually try to go for those logs. But as you can see, blue went for the 10-4-8. I mean, the thing you have to realize is that this is textbook, like, okay, well, these are high income places, I get 3 of the 5 resources. Textbook, these places look really good. And I think they are really good. The question is, you have to decide where your second settlement's going to go and how that second settlement is going to benefit your lack of clay when you have so many logs. So there may have been better spots for red or blue to go than these ones, but if you just follow, like, the rules that everyone states, like, no wheat means defeat, get high income tiles, it makes sense that people win here. But you might get high income tiles for your first settlement, but where's your second, third settlement going to go? And at this point, I'm thinking, well, if red and blue went up here and took these wheat, red and blue are not going to take 6, 4, 8, or 3 down here anytime soon. Someone might go on this 11, 4, 6 because of the ore, but someone should be taking this 9, 10, 2 or 10, 2, 5. And for some reason, gray, he decided to go on this 12, 6, 5, which I kind of like. I understand, trying to get the clay, but 12s and 2s are not worth it. And then he actually ends up doubling up on the 12 and 2. So he gets, the wheat, he gets the ore, but he gets no sheep, and his clay is almost non-existent. So I was in the game. I was pretty critical of Gray's placements here with, what exactly he's trying to do, because going last player, I mean, you should have the highest synergy between all your resource tiles, right? This, without sheep, these placements don't make much sense. Without a really strong clay, these placements don't make a lot of sense. I think it could have been better for him to go over here somewhere, or get closer to have his bases closer together. I don't know. Anyway, so blue had gone up here, so he's looking for ore and clay. Well, he can't get clay, so he'll just double up on the wheat. I think that's really strong of him to do that, because if he went down here on the 10-5, he's building on the desert, and you may not get a high enough return on this. And really, where do you expand? For him, he's already got the 8 on the sheep, and there's another 8 sheep here. There's a port here that's pretty abysmal. So instead, he decides to go over here, which is an 11, 4, 6. He gets the 3 for 1 port most likely. He's getting a lot of wheat. He could potentially make a lot of trades to other people, but wheat's pretty abundant in this game. People aren't going to need wheat, so he'll be trading that wheat in 3 for 1 most of the time. So now it's back to my turn, and I'm very concerned like why red went down here. I mean, it's a pretty risky play to very quickly expand to the 6 and get that clay to leech from it. I mean, it kind of makes sense, but by the time you have 3 settlements, why would you go here? Then moving on, I'm talking about what I should be doing over here, and this is the key thing, is that I'm looking at this 8-4-3 as the better spot, because this 6-3-11 is actually I would say inferior to this, because I have the 3 over here and whatever, right? I already have the logs. I'd be doubling up on the 3 sheep, pretty useless. So this is better. However, my thought process now is that if I go here, I can build a settlement, my 3rd settlement, down to here very quickly. And the key part of this plan is that when I place it down, I'll get a log, and then I have the 6 clay, so I should get a clay within 2 rounds. So if that happens, I already have the road. I'll get another road, and I'll be able to secure this 4, 3, 8, and I'll get the 6 on 11. So I end up actually doing that, and I'm like, well, I think it's worth the risk. I don't think blue can contest me and build 2 roads before I can build 1, which he can't because he doesn't have clay. So because I have a monopoly on the clay, I can get away with such a risky play, and if it works out, look what I have. I have 6, 6, and 8. My income is going to be absolutely crazy, and the 6 and the 8, wheat and sheep, is super strong. So anyways, on the first roll, I roll a 7. I identify that the 5 log for gray is like, maybe gray could, start expanding really quickly. I was actually really afraid of gray initially with his placements and everything, and especially with red too. So I decide to, steal a card from him. I get the ore, but I don't actually buy a dev card. I say to myself, I think it's too early to buy a development card right now. If I get a knight, it's pretty useless. I've just wasted 3 cards. I think I should just, risk it. If I get stolen from, if I get robbed, I think it's probably worth just saving these cards in the first round. And as you can see, gray actually rolled a 7, and since I did put the robber on the 5, I was thinking to myself, well, gray has to take from me. He has to identify how strong this clay is. He blocks my clay, and he takes my clay as well. So he completely, makes me panic, because, I'm over here thinking, okay, well, I need to really quickly build a road, and I can't build a road anymore. My plan has gone to shambles. And then he also stakes the clay for me as well, and then a 6 gets rolled on my turn, so it's very sad. And then here I'm just trying to get rid of cards in my hand. Like, I don't want to give people any more cards. I'm like, okay, well, if no one's going to trade me, I am most likely should buy a dev card. And yeah, as you can see, I'm panning down. I'm really looking at it, and I buy the dev card, and it's a knight. Which, I recognize that maybe it's not too bad to have a knight this early on. My 6 clay should be attacked pretty heavily by every other player. So I do need a knight to defend myself. And now I'm just getting, the rolls are just kind of whatever right now. I just need the clay. That's pretty much all I'm waiting on. I'm trying to trade for clay, or but no one trades for clay in this game. I'm trying to not spoil the rest of the game as much as possible. So a lot of the comments I'm making right now are just things I thought in the moment. So I wanted to touch on Red's positioning again. I think it's a really big blunder for him to put it here. He basically is only getting the 5 ore. Yes, he needs ore. Yes, it synergizes well with the 9-10, but he either very quickly needs to build onto the 6, which that doesn't synergize with like the 9-10-5 that he has, right? And he's also doubling up. He's the 5 and 5 as well, right? He's got 2 5s. Anyway, so what happened there was Gray, he rolled a 7, and he was like, okay, well, I'm going to put it on green, but, his 6 clay is already taken, so I'm just going to try to steal a clay from him and put it on the 11, since pretty much I share a lot of the same hexagons with Gray. So now it's my turn, and I'm hoping to steal some cards from people. So I identify that the 5 log is Gray's best position, and I also roll a 6. So I get 2 clays, which means I can build a settlement. So it's actually, this was a pretty pivotal round. It catapulted me pretty much 3/4 the way through the early game. Normally building that 3rd settlement is, kind of like a third or halfway through the mid game, but I just did it within the first 3 rounds. And I also got pretty lucky stealing the clay, then the 6 being rolled as well. So I'm feeling pretty good about my position right now. I'm still a little bit worried about gray and blue, as they actually aren't too far behind. They each have built a road, and they're just waiting on the right set of cards to build that next settlement. And as you can see, gray just traded a clay over to blue for like a sheep or something. I think that was a massive blunder on his part, as clay is so rare that buying it for a dev card seems very, very inefficient. Dev card, you can get a knight, which doesn't help you build anything in the early game, and the early game is all about building, right? Expanding out as quickly as possible, so that the last 20 rounds of the game you have higher returns than everyone else, so you can outpace them. If you're wasting your cards on dev cards and knights that don't they don't scale late game. They only give you 2 victory points if you actually get the largest army, right? So you don't get anything from those knights most of the time. So I was pretty critical of Gray making that trade when I think he should have just held on to it. So now here I recognize that, okay, I don't have 5s, 10s, 12s, or 2s. And I think, okay, that's pretty good. I mean, the 5 is a pretty big deal not to have, but I've got an 8 and 2 6s, so that should make up for it. So I also recognize that I could hold on to my cards, but if I hold on to my cards, I'm the one that's going to be targeted by everyone else in this game for quite a bit of time. So if, the 7 gets rolled twice, someone gets a knight or something, I'm going to lose 2 of those 3 cards in my hand, and I get nothing out of having those cards. So since I might as well be losing them, I might as well spend them. And that's a thought I actually keep for pretty much the rest of the game, is spend what I have and don't try to keep it. This is compared to my other videos where like I keep like 7 cards in my hand and it's a very risky play and it works out. But it's working out in those times because I'm not the main target that everyone's going after. This game, I should be everyone's like number one target for the robber or the knight. And Gray has also bought dev cards, so he scares me. And then I was also pretty critical of this play from Gray. He built 2 roads, uh, and I wasn't sure if he was trying to prioritize building a settlement here, trying to get longest road to block me from getting longest road. Either case, whether he's building settlement here or going for longest road trying to block me, I think building this 10-5 down here so he gets another source of ore, it would have been key. Uh, just because he has so much wheat and you need so much more ore, and he's already got a settlement on the 9, right? So why double up your numbers? Especially when your 5 is pretty much useless. And then if you were to build down here, if you look at red, where can red actually build to if he blocks him off with a settlement here? Red would have to build so far away to, to get out of this little pickle down here. And red's kind of blocked off up here too. So gray could completely shut down, red, and red might as well just leave the game at that point. So I think this settlement was much of a bigger deal. And I don't know. If I were to start building a couple of roads here, I have to build 2, and gray could easily, recognize that I'm trying to build roads to block him off. Or blue would have enough time to block me off as well. So at this point in time, I'm trying to think, okay, what do I do? Do I go for a city? Do I keep buying dev cards? Where do I build my settlement? And as you can see, I just clicked over here, like, do I try to build for this port? Do I try to build for the logs that are down here? And as you can see, I need logs to build anywhere, right? So wherever I'm going to build, it's going to cost me 2 logs to build a road and a settlement. So I'll easily take 2 logs for a wheat and an ore, because then I only need to get sheep to build a road and settlement. So that's one thing I touched on here, is that this road here allows me to build 2 settlements very quickly, or very efficiently, I should say. If I build one here, it only costs 1 road. If I build one here, it only costs 1 road. So generally, your 3rd and 4th settlements should only cost 1 road, but I have an added bonus because my 5th settlement is only going to cost 1 road as well. And I'm most likely, probably not going to get blocked by blue, as he's been building crazily over here. So now I'm debating between, do I build on the 3-for-1 port or the log port? The log port is much more efficient, and once I build the settlement here, I don't actually need the logs as much as I do, since I probably won't get longest road because gray is going to block me. So the only purpose for logs would be settlements, but I already have 4. So over the remainder of the game, I could just, build my 1 extra very efficient settlement, when it's convenient for me. So I think, okay, well, I'll probably go and build this log one down here. And I'm trying to figure out right now, how can I get 2 logs, to build a settlement? I can trade 4 wheat for a log, so I'm going to play my knight. Even though I like having my 5 on this gray and red spot, I'm going to place it on blue. I get the wheat, but I can just buy the log anyways. And then here I go for the risky trade. Generally, I really wouldn't want to trade this to anyone, but it will secure me a road and a settlement, so of course I'll just go for it. And of course, it kind of didn't work out. I think I'm going to be targeted, so I'm going to trade in everything for a development card, and I get a victory point. I would have preferred a knight at this point, just to keep the 4 or the robber off of me. Or any green card would have been heavily useful. But I decided, if I can't build that settlement, I might as well use my cards, because 3 robbers or 3 sevens could get rolled and I'd lose all my cards again, right? So it's really good to spend my my cards at this moment. Or at least that was how I was thinking about it as I was going through the game. Yeah, but it kind of sucked. I was like one card off from road settlement. But yeah, I did value this log port more because I do have the 11-3. Once I build there, the logs aren't important to me, so any 11 or 3s that I get, they just help me get another card. So I thought that was the most efficient way to go about this, and also if I were to build up, I'm contesting blue as well for the port. I really don't want to risk putting a road there because I'm throwing my lead away. And I say a lead when I only have 4 points, but I'm in a really good position to get my fourth settlement. I'm in a really good spot to get my fifth settlement after I get my fourth settlement. No one can really stop me from getting my final settlements. And look at that. See, if I had kept all those cards in my hand, one of them would have been stolen away and I wouldn't have this victory point. I wouldn't have the road, right? Well, I'd have the road, but I wouldn't have the victory point if I get stolen from in this instance. So now I'm considering where blue should put it. I think blue should have put it on my 6. I'm not quite sure where he put it. I think it went back to this 5. And I think he was putting it on that 5 to get something from whoever he stole from. But, I mean, he should know that I have a clay. But anyways, as you can see, we're kind of like pretty deep into the early game. So blue did put it there. He steals it from gray. Not too much of an impact, I think. But I'm just gonna say, like, we're so far deep into the early game, and gray actually doesn't have any settlements. Red doesn't have any settlements. We're so many rounds, and 2 of the 4 players don't have their third settlement yet. So now I'm starting to suspect that maybe gray and red are lower skilled players, not prioritizing things correctly, or they just like they're in a very tough spot and they don't know how to prioritize exactly what they need to do. I mean, I'm a pretty low skilled player too in the ELO system, so I don't want to talk down to them too much. Yeah, but that 11 was pretty good. It got me the log. I just needed a sheep. And as you've noticed in this game, in the short rounds as well, a lot of people have been trading something for clay. And I've been denying a lot of the clay trades because A, they haven't been good, and B, if no one else has clay, no one else is growing. So I think to myself, I can't trade anyone clay right now. If I trade them clay, I'm just helping them outgrow. I'll trade them clay later, when when I'm not in the when I'm well into the mid game where clay doesn't matter too much, and I don't care if they catch up to me because by that point I should be much further ahead. That was kind of my thinking on this. So as you saw, I got my settlement. I prioritized the log port, and I'm sitting pretty right now. I have 5 points. People only think I have 4. At this point in the game, I'm like, okay, everything worked out. I'm happy I got the victory point now. If the 7 had been rolled more, I had been attacked by knights more, this victory point would have been the end of me. I would have been sitting at 3 points still. But everything just worked out. I think everything was well calculated, and now I'm sitting pretty good in the mid game, while everyone else is still maybe halfway through the early game. And gray is very far behind, I think, right now without getting that third settlement. Same with red. But red plays the dev card that he bought last turn, or however long ago. It allows him to build 2 roads and a settlement. So a very big play. I think this is a really good play for red. If he builds here, he just gets clay, and then he still has to build out this way. So if he just decides to build out this way, he gets, the double 5, and then he blocks gray. And then maybe he can keep expanding out, somewhere to get more wheat or sheep. Because it's pretty obvious that I'm not going to build any more settlements down here. So if he can recognize that, then he should realize that, hey, I can probably, if I get 2 roads, I can come up here and completely skunk out gray. So I think red doing that was a really good play. It really puts the pressure on gray and really blocks him from building that settlement that he should have built here instead of those 2 roads. So now I look at my cards and I'm like, okay, well, I can build a settlement. I have the exact perfect set of cards to build a road and a settlement. 7 isn't rolled, didn't even matter anyways. I get another 6. So I'm, the 6 clay and the 2 wood things, the 6, the 4 wheat, the 3, and 8 sheep. It's just paying dividends. And as I said, 20 minutes ago, if I can place the guy here and then put my 3rd settlement here, my income throughout the entire game is going to be insane. And, it's only taken 2 or 3 rounds to build these 2 settlements, which is actually pretty crazy to do. Normally at this point, people kind of stall out, they stockpile cards, they lose cards, they buy dev cards. But for me, I've just had straight progression, and like I'm halfway to 3/4 of the way through the mid game. I'm almost at the late game. Like I'm right on that line. While everyone else is sitting pretty far behind. Blue, has caught up. He's got 2 cities, but I think his points are slightly inflated because those points are the easy points to get for him. Citying his first 2 settlements, that's whatever. Like, look at his expansion. His expansion is very poor right now. And Gray will contest him for longest road. And I already have 2 knights played, so I would actually revise what I said earlier. It's like I'm definitely in the late game, because I have 2 knights. I should correct myself with that. So now that I'm in the mid game, I'm freely trading these clay, since I don't really need them. So now, like, I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll trade my clay for whatever. The question is, do I buy dev cards or do I build cities? And I think to myself, like, okay, well, I guess I just need to do whatever is convenient and works out for me. If I have the cards for a dev card, I should just buy it because I'm so far ahead, people are going to target me. I can't lose these cards. Trying to get 2 wheat and 3 ore when I only have 1 9 ore, it's going to be very hard to do. I might end up getting like 7 ore, but only 2 of them I'll be able to ever use. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, I'll just, keep buying dev cards. But as you can see, I've got 2 wheat and 2 ore. And then I lose the ore. And then 11 is rolled. So I still have 2 wheat and 2 ore technically. So I just need to make a really good trade on my turn. And I'll be able to build a city. And I can't lose any of my cards on next turn. So it's looking like I'll be able to build a city on my turn if everything works out. And, if I can build a city, I'll build that over getting a dev card. Or 2 dev cards. Plus, I don't have any sheep. So I think I was talking all about, just buy dev cards, building a city is going to be too hard. Somehow it just worked out that I'll be able to build a city. And then at this point, I noticed that Gray still is on 2 victory points. I think not building the settlement here, really prevented him from doing anything in the game. So now I'm looking to see who has ore. I think, okay, well, Gray has ore, so I might as well put it on this 5 and steal from him. I think that was my thought process. Or maybe I stole it from Blue because of his 11. Yeah, I think Blue had some ore in his hand, but I got a wheat. So I go to trade. I just need 1 ore. I try to be greedy and get 2 ore out of it. I'm thinking, like, if people will give me a sheep and a wheat, maybe I can get a whole bunch of dev cards, but I think the play to make was try to get a city if I can, even if I have to trade 1 for 1. I was gonna put up like 1 log just so I'm not trading 1 for 1, but yeah. I knew red and gray desperately needed a clay, and there we are. Gray trades me it. I think with Gray being so far behind and the way the ELO point system works is that Gray will feed me as long as he can come, 3rd or potentially 2nd. So I think that's probably why he made the trade. I think in a tournament game, Gray shouldn't trade me. He should be talking and communicating with red and blue about what he can do to trade them. But in this ELO system, I think Gray did make the right play in trading me, even though that sucks for red and blue. There's kind of like a unwritten rule that, you know, the first player and the player that's coming last, you know, they can work together because they have the least to lose against each other, right? Yeah, so as you can see, blue is slowly building for longest road. Builds longest road, he'll be sitting at 7 points. He'll be matched with me, and that's kind of terrifying because if I'm targeted by red and gray and blue, while blue, you know, just gets 7 points, then he's not really targeted, right? Then that's really bad for me, and I could very easily lose, even with all my income here. One thing I was mentioning throughout the match was that everyone seems to keep putting the robber on my 6, and as I said 3-4 rounds ago, once I get, you know, 5 settlements, 4 settlements, this 6 doesn't mean anything to me. At most I can just trade it to Gray, you know, and Gray can feed me, but this 9 with a city, like that's like the big playmaker here. Like this 9 should be targeted all the time by everyone else. So I think it was a really massive tunnel vision or oversight by the other players that they kept putting the robber on the 6. I think any more skilled player would have realized I only have one place to get ore. If I don't have this ore, I have to trade 2 for 1, 3 for 1 for ore. And I have a city on that ore now too, so that ore is so much more important than that 6. Even though I'll get 3 clay, I have to trade 3 of those clay for one item, right? I have to trade clay to someone else to get something. So I think putting it on that ore is much more efficient to slow me down. So I was really bewildered that people kept tunnel visioning on that 6, but you know, if you look at it, that 6 does look pretty scary if you're still sitting in the early game, right? And as you can see here, like the last few turns, I've been trading clay non-stop to get wheat and ore. I offered clay originally, and people traded 1 wheat for 1 clay and 1 ore for 1 clay. And they denied that. I denied that, and I tried to get 1 wheat and 1 ore. And for some reason, red traded me. And I don't think any player at this point in time should have made that trade. I think that's a huge blunder by red to give me those 2 cards because it gave me a city. And when I'm asking for a wheat and an ore, after offering a 1 for 1 trade or denying a 1 for 1 trade, it's pretty clear I have a city, right? So it's very interesting that red made that trade, and I think that pretty much sealed the deal for everyone else. And you can see red putting it on the 6. Again, I think that's a waste. Blue is pretty far behind. You need to stop me, and you need to put it on this ore right here. So at this point in the game, I'm like, okay, I don't see how I can lose because, you know, gray or red could take longest road. And so gray and red are motivated to take longest road so that red can take second or gray can take third and they won't lose as much ELO. Blue, on the other hand, needs it to secure second or come first. So all 3 of them are going to fight for longest road. So at this point I think, okay, well, I should trade everything, all my clay, to gray and gray alone. Never trade to blue, maybe trade to red. And if I do that, I prevent blue from, you know, getting longest road and potentially surmounting me. That's, of the 4 things I think that helped me win this game, I think that's the 4th thing that I did this game that, you know, secured, that, like, you know, like really increased my chances of winning. Just identifying like what you can give to other people, which will help them block your competitors. So 7 comes out, and I'm like, okay, well, gray is going to put it on the 6 because that's what everyone's been doing. They should definitely be putting it on the 9, but there it is. I also make the comment that gray is in such a far behind position that trying to slow down the person in first doesn't really matter. He should be going to steal from other people. So if he was trying to slow me down, he should have done the 9 to his, his detriment, but he should have gone for a card because like he doesn't have enough cards, he doesn't have income, he needs cards. So I think he should have stolen from someone that had something he needed. So I'm very close to winning. I have 2 cities, I have 2 knights. I just need to get a dev card and I get a knight and I win. That's the most efficient way for me to win. Yeah, so with red taking longest road, I no longer have to worry about blue. Red has 1 city and 2 settlements, so he's got the easy victory points to get. I don't know if people recognize this or would agree, but to me, like getting 5, 6, 7 victory points, very, very easy. Like it doesn't take that long. I think getting those last 2, 3 victory points can be very hard, especially if it's close or you're the only person ahead. I think those last few points can be very hard unless you've done like you have crazy income and like no one can actually block one of your resources. Then in that case, maybe they're not so bad to get. But then probably getting to 7 points or 6 points would actually take a little bit longer. So basically, I'm just looking for a dev card right now. I've got 2 ore. If I had a clay, I would trade it for that wheat in a heartbeat. Because I have 2 logs, which I can trade for a sheep. And here's the roll of truth. I get a 4, I get a wheat. So now I think to myself, okay, well I just trade in these 2 logs, I get a sheep, I get a dev card. If I get a knight, I win next turn, and I don't believe anyone can stop me. So I consider trying to trade other people to see if I can get, like two dev card buys. And it would be pretty trolly if anyone actually made this trade, but I was just seeing, has anyone given up? Does anyone like that they're in 2nd place and they wanna keep their ELO points right now? Which, I mean, is pretty scummy and not in the spirit of the game, but it's the way the ELO system works. So then I decide to just bank trade it in. I buy the dev card. I'm hoping it's a knight. And it's a knight, so I'm 99.9% sure that I'm going to win on the next turn. Only way would be like blue to get longest road and then 2 settlements, 2 cities, buy 4 dev cards. I don't know, something crazy like that. Red trades him all of his cards or something. So even though like I haven't won yet, at this point in the game I was trying to summarize, how did I dominate this game so hard? Like what really did I do that, secured it? And I think there were 4 main things. The first thing was, I think I'm even talking about it right now. But the first thing was this settlement here was deciding not to build here, but to build here, and then to go for an expansion strategy where my 3rd settlement is going to be better than my 2nd settlement. Recognizing that I can do this, that I block blue from ever getting down here. With blue putting his road up there, he was not contesting me. I recognized that it was a free 3rd settlement, that it was going to give me 2 6s and an 8. Because, building here, I'm doubling up on the 6s, and, 6 wheat, 6 clay, doesn't really synergize. High income, yeah, but what if 6s don't get rolled at all? So it's pretty risky to just play here and then decide to expand over here. The second thing, which might be more important than the first, was identifying that the clay was only this clay. Only this clay was what you could get. 12 and 2 clay, worthless. If I build, on this hexagon, this vertice right here, no one else can build on here because it won't be worth it. Yes, it's the only clay, but they'll have to build on this 2 6, or they'll have to build on the 6 only with a log port. So, if I build here, like that screws everyone else over. I have a monopoly on clay. If I only get a little bit of log, so that's kind of crappy. But if I can secure a log somewhere else, it works out. And then the third thing were my efficient settlements. Saving that extra road to get the settlement, to get the 3-for-1 port, and choosing to get the 2-for-1 log port here first, and playing it safe against blue. That was the more ideal situation. And yeah, I built a city to get 11 victory points to win, but yeah. So then I look at the ELOs to see what they are. I've kind of deranked from the new season start. And then I realized that red and gray were below 1,000 ELO, so they had just started playing the game. But I think if people take from this that if you recognize that you can do something that I did with point 1 here, expanding, point 2, getting these settlements, point 3, getting the right ports and getting efficient settlement building for 3 and 4, or 4 and 5 I should say, and then trading clay to red and gray so that your main competitor can't get longest road and maybe usurp yourself. I think those 4 key things are really important points that beginners can take away and just find better ways to win the game. And then of course I did adhere to the general guidelines of getting ore and getting wheat, so everything just kind of worked out. So yeah, the main point here is I expanded to have crazy income. I monopolized the clay, and I was very selective of who I traded with. I was very efficient in my 4th and 5th settlement placements, especially choosing the log port over the 3-for-1 port, and yeah, making sure my trades were good as well. I think gray was out of the game as soon as he didn't get the settlement. I think this placement kind of killed his entire game. He wasn't much of a threat. I think with me placing here and blocking blue off and him putting his road upwards instead of potentially downwards or even into here to contest this, which maybe he should have done, then I think he kind of didn't really deny me anything. I think a higher skilled players would have recognized what I have going on here. They would have recognized the 9-10-5, the 10-4-8 is kind of a little bit of a trap, because you put them here. Where are you going to synergize later? Like, every other resource tile is going to give you sheep and wheat later on. You're going to have to pick some pretty abysmal places to go. Like, blue's placements were okay. I just think building this way, if these 2 settlements were like right here or down here, he would have gotten more bang for his buck and probably could have maybe even won. So maybe a higher skill player would have recognized that. Maybe he should have built, right on the 6-4-3 and then built upwards, because I'm obviously not going to build over here. I obviously need, sheep and wheat. I can only get it from certain places. And then, giving up the 6 and the 8 and people not really building on that. Like, red didn't build on a 6 or an 8 on his first build, which is pretty dicey to do. This is pretty good, but it's only good if you have really good synergy somewhere else on the board, and you don't. So I think that pretty much summarizes the game. I think this video is more geared towards beginners recognizing that placements are a massive ordeal. There's a lot of strategy behind them. People could say 40%, 60, 70% of the game is from placements alone. And then you can make up for bad placements with trades later on. But yeah, I hope those 4 points are instructional, or they add to what people can do. Even though it was against lower skilled players, I think it really does highlight like how important placements are to being a better player. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. Hopefully I have another video out soon. And thanks for watching.